I had the weirdest, freakiest thing ever. Like everything just shut down, and it was really freaky deaky.
Yeah? How you feeling?
Oh my god. As best as you can expect after like I don't know eons of
Being ill?
right. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
But
your immune system is trying to sort all this shit out. Yeah.
oh man, it's been. I'm just so relieved that I'm not coughing all the time. It's like been really huge. So,
Me
but yeah,
too.
it's 7 weeks of bronchitis. Not cool. It's very not cool.
Your voice doesn't sound good still yet. Hey, Strawberry Harpy.
Strawberry harpy. One
Uh,
second, I'm fixing my camera. It's all jacked up now.
I gotta tweet this.
You tweeting? Oh, what are we tweeting?
Torn Edge is gonna have a stream starting in about an hour.
Oh, is
So,
she?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, is it about all the recent shenanigans?
She's basically like a little social hub. Yeah, she's gonna just be doing her crafting and talking to people in the live chat. I'll tell you. Come say hi. There we go.
1 second here. I'm trying to fiddle with stuff here.
But the recent shenanigans are very interesting. And just give me 1 second. I need something to drink. I'll be right back.
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Mute this.
There we go. Shenanigans and whatnot. Let's see here. I am on, which is unusual, right? It's super unusual. So like after like 7 weeks of oh gosh, I don't know what that was. It was like bronchitis. I had a cold and turned into bronchitis with an asthma flare, and like this is like the best my voice is gonna be for a while, I guess. So there's that. But I'm alive. It's good.
Oh, God. I'm not getting on camera. I just woke up.
Oh, I just got on camera just because like I never do, but like I'm not
You
necessarily my
look
best
great.
self.
You look great.
Well, not bad after 7 weeks of being sick, right?
No, I know,
Ridiculous.
really. Hey, Maya. Hey, Bino Justice.
I
B.
don't know,
No,
you know.
Justice B. And, yeah. We'll see who else shows up. I just tweeted. So she's not going to be for a couple of hours. Okay.
So Tornad is gonna be live in a couple hours talking about various shenanigans.
I'd imagine, but we can talk about it too.
Yeah, absolutely. So gosh, for people who are not familiar, recently we've observed over time, I think as a community, like just people that have been around for a long time, we observed over time that the skeptic community, the flat earth debunking community had a few people that were raising fundraisers at willy-nilly over anything. It could be over gear, it could be over the like a vacation, it could be that you may have ran over speeding on a highway and ran over some innocent hogs that were minding their own business, but because you're speeding you hit them. It could be, maybe somebody needed to allocate money to pay 10 months of rent before they moved. It could be that suddenly somebody has a flash dance of cancer and then suddenly they don't. Whatever reason, right? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't even know what I'm talking about. Whatever reason.
Cancer.
Well, like, it was like, I have cancer, and then it's like done. I'm like,
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody recover so quickly, man.
Stage 1 cancer. It's probably easy to recover. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't
I'm
know.
just absolutely baffled how anybody buys some of this bullshit. I just without evidence.
I mean, that's the
Without
same person
providing
that
any
said she was
evidence. Yeah.
getting. That's the same brilliant person that said she was getting death threats, and I was like really concerned because, like, no, like really for real.
Yeah.
I
She
don't
didn't
want.
get a death threat. I bet
I
there
don't
was.
want. I don't want anybody in my circles.
Hey guys, I got a death threat. I'm going to immediately delete it though and then make a big stink about it. Yeah.
Right? Right?
Right.
So I'm, like, concerned, and I'm like, "Okay, so this woman got a death threat from supposedly one of us." It could be, like, a TSTer, a dragoon, random idiot on the internet, or it could be a Unirock person, like, we don't know. It's just some mystery person. They throw all the others that they piss off into the same
She
camp
pointed directly at you and me, and
at us
she
because we
did.
have nothing better to do than harass an idiot that
Send
we've never met
somebody
anymore.
we don't even know. I didn't
Right,
even know who Ilya Moon was at the time. Now I do a little bit.
right,
But it's just so weird, right? Stage 1 cancer and like no evidence of it at all. Like no,
right. It's just weird, right?
and then a month later, all better.
No, we didn't get it. I mean, I have gotten death threats. I was
No,
told
we
I ought
sent
to be
that death.
stoned to death, but, like, that's from the fundies. No, no, no. Ilya Moon said a long time ago that she got a death threat from one of us, and we were like, "Well, that's really terrible." So I got on an alt and I said, "Listen, like, that's unacceptable. If you wanna let me know who did that, maybe we can trace down who did that." And she's like, "Oh, I don't have the screenshot anymore. I just, I just have to,"
I
and she
deleted
just
it.
I
I
deleted it all. And I'm just like, and then she blocks me, and then she tells Cheshire, and Cheshire's like, "These psychopaths are harassing her." And I'm like, all I said is it's
Wow.
unacceptable that somebody would give you death threats, and please let us know who it is. Do you have a screenshot? And then she freaked out, and then Cheshire took over and was like, "Oh, they're harassing her some more." And I'm just like, no, like, this bitch is a liar, probably. And I'm just trying to figure out what that is. So yeah, it was one of those things where it's like, no, I do think death threats are unacceptable. So let me know if it's like so I can figure out if this is a rando or if this is a recognizable sock that we could go, that looks awful like so and so. She wouldn't share, so I can't help you. So whatever.
Nate and Fiona showed up. Hi,
Oh my
Nate and
gosh,
Fiona.
Nate's in the house. Fiona's in the house. Welcome. Take threats seriously. A person making the threat might do nothing, but someone else might do it for them. That's true. That's true. You know,
Or we
my,
could just believe that they're just making shit up
right,
for
right.
attention. There are people who do that. Yeah.
They
There are
are
people who make things up like that. It's hard to believe, because you probably never did something like that, but yeah, everybody knows, right? I don't have to
right,
explain this.
right.
So it was one
So,
of those deals. Yeah. Hi, Cindy Sue.
so if you had like a video, obviously there's Nate's video, and I might play if Nate doesn't object, I might play his video, and we can maybe discuss it. And if I was trying to think, I'm trying to think what's worthwhile. See, the problem with Unirock, and I'm not gonna like bash him too hard or anything, but the problem with Unirock for me is he has like 6-hour streams, long hour streams, 3-hour streams. It is really hard to figure out what the meat and potatoes is in that stream. So like I don't even know how to cite Unirock without having to go through copious amounts of stream. So if anybody has anything I can cite that doesn't have in the background, let me know. But Unirock's done a really good job, at least having a team of people, I would say, put together and compile the information about these various fundraisers. And I think that was incredibly helpful to just kind of have the visual and see. And then negative exponents, I believe, got some of the lease information that kind of showed you like what actually happened with Shawn's lease. So in a nutshell, how would you explain what we're going to be talking about to somebody that maybe never heard about this stuff before? Mind you, this is the skeptic atheist community, largely atheists more than not. And it is the flat earth debunking subset of that. So how do you explain to somebody this shenanigans? How would you do it in a nutshell?
How would I explain it?
Yeah, in a way that makes sense.
All right. So basically, a con artist in the community, basically
Allegedly. We have to say allegedly.
alleged con artist got up on camera and pretended that he allegedly all of this is allegedly, okay? but it's not. It isn't, but it isn't. So Shawn Hufford explains to everybody that he needs $10,000. Jared and Reds apparently came up with this number. This because they did agree it's an outrageous number, right? 10K, because Shawn lost his job.
That's a magic number too. If you hit
Yeah.
10K, you have to report it. Did you know that?
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
So
Anything
okay.
that's gifted over 10K, you have to let the IRS know if you hit that mark.
Even if it's multiple people that came up with that 10K?
Yeah, it's if it's for the same reason it's gifted to you.
I
My
see.
understanding is you have to report it to the IRS.
Okay. I did not know that.
Someone dies, leaves you money, and if it hits that 10K mark.
Well, apparently it didn't hit the 10K, but that's
Yeah.
just the story.
For what we see, right?
This is the story because everything goes into the black hole of Shawn Hufford's PayPal address, PayPal account. And it's been like this for a long time because, Shawn is touted as this hugely responsible individual. And apparently, come to learn, he couldn't be anything couldn't be further from the truth, right? Because he says he needs $10,000 to pay off his lawyer because he's 2 months into his lease and he needs to move now so that he can go to Florida and get a job and stay at Red's house while he's reestablishing himself. Red's Rhetoric's house. This is the story they told everybody. He has a job down here. You just have to get him there, guys. And to get him there, we need to pay off his lawyer for 10 months rent and then get him a U-Haul so that he can get down there and get that good job that he has lined up. Well, he'll stay on Red's Rhetoric's sofa for a while. Wow. Okay. So that sounds like a great plan, right? And so they only raised $7,500 for him, allegedly. And that really is allegedly because nobody knows like who donated, how much they donated, right? We just don't know. There's no transparency to any of these fundraisers these guys have been running, including the Ilya Moon fundraiser. So, and Bull's fundraiser, really. I mean, they showed a lot of receipts for Bull's.
So with Bull's fundraiser, I remember seeing something fly by where it was a check, but like there was really no way to address it in any way, right? Like, do you remember that one? That weird screenshot that read
the redacted screenshot? Yeah.
Yeah, that one was really hard to really do anything with or to figure out. And then there was another one that was
hey CJ.
Well, I guess my question is
thanks.
I think my question would be like, how do you have transparency with a PayPal? Without
you don't really unless you use I think there is a way to do it. I've never done it, so I wouldn't know. But I think there is a way if you use something called Money Pool or something. But you'd have to show your donations coming in. And, they didn't do it. They just didn't do it. It's just like, and then the funds also seem to go from Hufford's PayPal, which may or may not be connected to Red's account. And then Shawn got this PayPal account, which most PayPal accounts are attached to a bank account. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Whose account is it? Shawn doesn't have his own bank account. He's got to use his girlfriend's.
Yeah, we think it's his girlfriend, right? Like he's sharing an account with somebody, right?
Deb. And so Deb, who stole his money at one point after this, by the way, I'm sure everybody has followed this.
But he doesn't want to use the word steal. You notice that? He was like, when Jared tried to say that word, he was stopping him.
Oh.
Isn't that interesting? I always thought it was interesting.
Yeah, well, because it's her account. He's on it as a co-owner of the account. So it's a joint bank account. So has all this time these donations been coming into Shawn's bank account, essentially, Shawn's PayPal, or what? Like nobody knows how they've been handled. Everybody's too afraid to ask him. They just come right out and ask him to be transparent. You can't ask them to be transparent because that's offensive. How dare you question my transparency?
So this man Hufford more than once we noticed on various fundraisers, Hufford was the PayPal that it was connected to their fundraisers. He was like the treasurer almost of the group of friends known as Rhetoric and A2 and who else? Team Skeptic. Who else was around there?
Um,
Allegedly.
What they would do is ask people like Team Skeptic and Fight the Flat Earth to lend credibility to this type of scam, alleged scam.
Alleged.
And yeah, and they would ask them to come on and promote it, and that would give it credibility. That's what happens with these things. You need credible people to ask for money. And so when Jared says, well, it was me, Shawn, and Reds who came up with the figure, we looked at this situation Shawn is in, and this is what it's going to take. Yeah. So, I mean, like, and everybody believes it because they're all fans. Hey, Torn. Hey, CJ. So it's just like,
Excel's doing all the grading because, like, I have a limited amount of words I can use. So I support. Hey, everybody. I just got over bronchitis, so like I appreciate that Excel saying hi to everybody. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
That's it. I mean, I don't know what else to say. It's just so transparently sleazy to me that it didn't take much for me to say, yeah, I think this is probably true. Yeah, it looks really shady to me already. It does, especially when you see clips of Shawn trying to convince everybody that in order to get out of a lease, you have to pay off 10 months of rent. Yeah. Like that just, I don't know what reality people are living in.
And my understanding is Nate highlighted that there's actually a buyout clause in the rent contract if you want out of the lease. There's like this buyout clause, which is quite reasonable.
Yeah, because the judges don't, come to learn that judges aren't going to award the entire balance of the lease to anyone because of, the renter's laws and everything, because it's inherently unfair. When people lose their job and they're 2 months into a lease, the judge is just going to grant them, I think maybe $2,000 or something like that. Some number that's reasonable. Yeah. First and last month's rent, maybe some damages. They're not going to grant the entire $6,000 that the landlord is allowed to ask for. So they can ask for $6,000, but they're only going to get a couple thousand. So getting out of it for $1,500 saves money, right? Just tell your landlord what you're doing and act like an adult, Shawn, and you'll be able to get out of your lease, right? And then you can just ask the community for $1,500. Yeah, or whatever.
That is the man that
not try to
shares a bank account, right? He doesn't have his own grown-up bank account, right?
Yeah, so. Exactly. I mean, come on. If you're breaking up with somebody and you're still on their bank account. I mean, who does that? Hey, Halcyon.
I mean, why can't he have his own bank account? Like, that doesn't even make sense. Like, I think my first bank account I had was when I was 10.
And then he says it's because she's an older person. Only older people can get. Did you know that only older people can get what Deb had? And that is, what's it called? Overdraft protection.
Overdraft protection. I have overdraft protection. Like, granted, I am a little bit old, but
because she's an older person. I think Shawn's in his 50s or something.
He's got to be older than me. He looks older than me. I don't know. Meth is a hell of a drug. I don't know. Allegedly.
Or he's 40 or 50 years old, and he can't get a bank account with freaking common banking features like overdraft protection. And he has to do it through some older woman. I mean, it's just like the whole thing, the whole thing is just a complete or joke. It's got to be a joke, right? Because if it's not a joke, then these people have been like convincing us they're smart people who can take a look at legal documents and weigh in on them.
As somebody that's met Reds, I don't think he's very smart, but that's just me. But
it's like, hey, did Kyle steal the NSS? The first person they asked, Shawn Hufford. Let's hear what Shawn Hufford has to say.
Did they really ask him first?
Yeah. When Shawn Hufford says that Kyle stole the NSS, he certainly did do that because Shawn is wise. Yeah. He's so wise that he doesn't know how to obtain his own bank account. Yeah. How to be transparent in a simple fundraiser. Yeah. And how to take a look and read your lease and understand it before you go asking for $10,000 from people who are already tired of giving money. Yeah. Because everybody is having a hard time. Yeah.
Is that Houseoid? Like Houseoid, the old
Halcyon.
school?
No, it's Halcyon.
Halcyon. Okay.
It's Galen Halcyon.
Got it.
He's my friend.
I guess so. Yeah, I don't know. Like it's mind blowing to me because these are the skeptics, right, of the community. These are the people that are fighting people that are like accepting things dogmatically and are being defensive of their own tribe, and then of watching them circle the wagons, and then watching them proceed to, I mean, in recent events this week, proceed to basically have Shawn take one for the team and happily do it. Like now, like I have questions on how Reds and Jared and everybody else were involved in what they knew, and everything else. But right now, I think their strategical move has been to throw Shawn out and be like,
Yeah.
bad Shawn, bad. And I was betrayed by my own friend.
Yeah.
And then I think that they're going to lay low, and you're going to see another fundraiser in 3 months.
Yeah. Hey, Beach. And here's the thing that's really funny. Here's what I think. Hey, Headless. Hi, Beach in the chat.
Okay.
The one of two things could be happening. Like, okay, so originally, like when they first came up with this lease, I think maybe, and it's just so hard to tell because you can't believe anything Shawn says right now. Yeah, nothing. You don't believe his story about lying, even. I mean, like the story about him lying has been proved before he came forward and admitted to lying, right? But I can't believe anything this man says now because I saw him confidently lie, bald face, even when straight out asked. Yeah. And he did that like a smooth operator, right? So, I mean, here's the other thing. Like, I think maybe Jared and Reds just got tired of him asking for money and having problems. And so they were just like, oh, let's just get him a bunch of money and let's let the community play for it. Yeah. Who cares about looking at his lease, trying to help him out, trying to help him figure out what the fuck he's going to do? Yeah. We'll pretend like I promised you a job in Florida and then everybody will donate because I'm Red's Rhetoric, right? I just don't know what they were thinking. And nobody's coming forward. I hope Shawn does. I hope Shawn tells what's going on someday soon.
Reds isn't fully sticking up for him, so I guess Shawn has thrown Reds under the bus, going, well, it was Red and Jared's idea to raise it to 10K.
Yeah.
So because of that, I mean, they're throwing him under the bus back now. Like this is, I don't know if it's only because of that, but I'd say they're trying to get the heat away from themselves.
Yeah, that, and it was proven. It was proven that he lied before any admission was made. Yeah. Unirock proved it. Well, the people helping Uni, but Unirock fronted that shit and he proved it. And then somebody else besides Unirock called Shawn out and then he admitted something. He admitted something, but what he admitted was spending it a certain way when asked, who cares? The money's gone. Yeah. It was kind of fraudulent. It was kind of a scam, wasn't it? Because nobody would have donated that much money unless he really did, have a story about why he needed that much. I mean, everybody loses their job from time to time, right?
Right.
So do we have fundraisers for 10K for everybody who loses their job? Is that what's going to happen now? Or is it just Red's friends who get the 10K every time they lose a job?
Okay, allegedly we have somebody named MP, so we're going to take a look and make sure that we're not getting bombed. Who is this?
MP. Hey, Nate.
It might be Nate or it might be a fake Nate because there's no title. So we're taking a risk here. We're taking a risk.
You're muted, MP.
MP, you have 2 minutes to unmute, and I say 2 minutes.
Let him stay muted. MP, to prove who you are, type in the side chat what I said to you when you were on vacation.
There he is. Hey.
There he is. Okay.
Yeah, it was me. I was.
You were muted.
Yes.
Okay, there we
I'm on
go.
my phone, so it's getting a little crazy. What's up, guys?
Hey.
So I think you did a really good video. I was gonna watch it at some point in the stream, but man, just from your take, how come you decided to finally address it? Do you think what was your motivation? Do you suppose?
Oh, well, the cover up. To be honest with you, when I started hearing everybody start covering up about what happened and things starting to get kind of crazy, like, oh well, he really might have paid something, or this and that, or there were a lot of excuses coming out. So I thought at this point in time, people just needed I need to cut through all the bullshit and just say, hey, here's what happened, here are the facts, believe what you want. And I think that it spurred a further conversation, because I think and I'll just be honest with you guys, uni is not really the best way to get that message out. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people don't trust them. So I also thought I can put some credibility behind it, especially now since we actually had the court documents. You know what I mean?
Right, that makes a lot of sense. Well, I was saying that, like, I think we should give credit where credit's due with Uni, like the effort that Uni's put in, his tenacity of hanging on, has been really incredible. And he's got a team of people that are willing to assemble information for him, which is really, he's got a huge advantage there. And that's great. But like, I have a really hard time getting through Uni's videos because they're just so long. If he had maybe somebody editing his videos in little bites after he goes live at some point, for people that don't want like a quick, what has happened, that would be helpful, I think. But like, it's just tough. Like I was like, credit where credit's due, but like, what do I go to with Unirock to show that isn't like a mile long, and try to figure out, there's so much information.
Unirock is an excellent troll wrangler.
Yes,
I think he really is, and he can keep people on tilt really easily. And I think it was deliberate, a lot of the stuff he was doing. I've been watching ever since early March. I had his attention. He had my attention. I was rapt. I watched listened to every one of his streams, paid strict attention. And I'm able to ask questions for clarity whenever I'm confused about something. So, I mean, I do have that latitude because I know some of the mods. And it's like what Beach is saying. It's never the crime, it's the cover up that nails you. That's a Nixon quote.
Yeah, you know what? One of the things even about this story that still got me pissed off now is partially to do with the cover up. Because I don't know, did you guys see Fight the Flat Earth's rendition of what happened? He was doing his.
Oh God, yeah, it was awful.
And don't get me wrong, I understand these are his friends. He's got a relationship with them, but to not call this what it is, to try to say this was not a scam, this guy had no intent to take your money, this was all some type of, I would understand if you say, hey, listen, I'm not too sure, but then to make the affirmative claim that this wasn't a scam, this wasn't a fraud, this wasn't this. It's like, how far do you want to stretch people's imagination here? It's like me saying, I'm going to have a fundraiser for tuition for law school. And then you find out I wasn't in law school, right? That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, it would be like that.
That's what we're talking about here. You have to understand. Yeah. You can't tell me that any sane adult is not going to know what their rent is, not going to know how long their lease is. God damn it, he's going to everybody asking her to pay 10 months of the lease, and he don't know what the rent is, and he don't know how long the lease is.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
And people are sitting there believing that, well, he didn't. What, huh? And let's not forget, he spent the money in 3 months. He spent all $7,000 in 3 months. So, people are trying to say this is not a scam, trying to make themselves believe it. But at the end of the day, people's money was taken because he told everybody he paid the landlord and he didn't pay it. If that's not a scam, I know we got to say allegedly.
Allegedly.
But if I give my money to fucking feed the children, and I found out that they don't feed children, I'm gonna feel like I got scammed. I think that's exactly what it is.
So I was reading just all over, and I was trying to read up on this. Like, if you do a fundraiser, and I was watching the apologetics from Sly, apologetics from Flight the Flat Earth, which Flight the Flat Earth is largely, I've had ethical problems with them since the modern day debate where they shit on G-Man the whole entire time, which granted, I dislike G-Man greatly, but like if you're gonna start a debate and you start off with just being nasty and ad hominy and rude and mocking, and then to have modern day debate edit that part out so that way when it uploads that part's gone, and so out of context you have the rocking wild G-Man and you don't see the progression of how that happens. I think that's shady. So I've had like a problem with Fight the Flat Earth for a while. Like, just I think that they're a little bit just you can fight dumb people without yourself being stupid. But you know, apparently they don't know how to do that. So yeah, I've had a problem with them. But to watch them try to basically Jared the situation, you know how A2 Productions Jared is typically the spin doctor of everything. And to watch them actually join that has been interesting, to say the least. I think that's very interesting.
And you know what? There's one aspect of this story I wanted to ask you guys about, and that's actually what happened to the money. Now, obviously, we can't, go through a top line by line audit of his finances, but there's something with the story. Now, we know there are a couple of things that now we know for a fact, right? Number one, he didn't give any money to his landlord. He said he only paid 1 month. He paid September, right? So we know that. And we know that he said he paid utilities. So even giving a liar, somebody told us he paid everything to the landlord, giving him that person the benefit of that and saying, okay, that person paid 1 month's rent, 1 month's utilities, $1,000, right? That means he still got $6,000 plus, $6,500 left. And
he flew across the country to see his girlfriend.
Well, now you got a flight across country. And remember, all this time he wasn't paying. He didn't pay the landlord. He wasn't doing any of that stuff that he said he was going to do with the money. So he has all this money cash.
Yep.
And he goes from having almost $8,000 at the beginning of September to now in November 23rd, he says he had no money left. Now, if you think about it, that money was supposed to last at least, I'll say if he's paying rent with it, 10 months, right? So
yeah.
how do you go from we're really financing you for 10 months to 2 months, right?
He had no money. He had no income other than that. So, yeah.
And then he says, I was spending it on Grubhub. I was spending it on this. I'm spending
Grubhub. I don't know how to cook at home. I don't know how to live like a poor person.
Yeah, I can't take a cab to the supermarket and buy groceries for the month if need be. You know what I'm saying? It's like all that stuff is he kept saying. But at the end of the day, no one is asking the question, what the hell did you do with $8,000 in 3 months, right? Because we're not even talking about to the end of November. He said he was broke. He gave the date. November 23rd, I didn't have any money. And then one last thing about the November 23rd not having no money. He also wrote a post under one of the videos, and he said that he gave Reds $2,000. Just so we're clear, he said the fundraiser didn't meet the goal of $10,000, right?
Damn.
So he needed he needed some cash, a loan, to make it through. But obviously he couldn't have needed a loan because he didn't use the money for anything else, right? He didn't use the money to pay off the landlord. So now he's saying that he needed a loan because he didn't get $10,000 from everybody. So he got that loan from Red. And then he paid Reds back that loan.
Yeah. What did he use Red's money for? What did he use that? I mean, none of it makes sense. It's almost like he was actually using it for hookers and blow.
Yeah, but if you think about it, though, think about this, though.
Just like Brother Mario.
If he paid the landlord that money, then I would say, okay, I see why he needs extra money. But we know he didn't pay the landlord, so he had the money. So why would he need a loan from Reds anyway? That just doesn't make any sense.
I know it doesn't make any sense. You're right. It doesn't, especially considering, okay, if you got a loan, then you would have had that much money in the loan. What, $2,000? Let's just say $2,000. So you have $2,000 plus $7,500. That's almost the $10,000. Yeah. And you couldn't accomplish everything you said you were going to do with that money. Of course you could have. Of course you could have.
I was just
You just chose not to.
He said he
Yeah.
was going to pay off the landlord 10 months rent. He didn't have to do that, right? He walked. He
No,
got that
Yeah.
money.
He
And
knew
then
he
why-
didn't.
And then why the hell was he still going around telling people, oh, the fundraiser didn't meet the goal, so, I still have to do all this. The fundraiser
Yeah.
still didn't meet the goal. You didn't pay the landlord, so you should have $7,000. Well, that's a plus.
Right. He was afraid to pay the landlord, right? And I've seen somebody, I think it was probably Shawn or Shawn's girlfriend, making excuses for that. He just said that he got a loan from Red. He never really got a loan from Reds. That's the story I've seen to explain that shit. So even though he said to somebody that he had received a loan from Reds, he just said no. He just made that up. So he just like makes things up all the time. So here we have so many occasions of Shawn just making up shit when being honest would have been much more simple.
No,
And
Unirock,
yeah,
he was scared to be honest, because if he said I took it, Unirock's sitting there screaming, he took it for about a year now. That validates Unirock. So Unirock, I think, it was doing well with keeping them in the box. You know what I'm saying? Not letting them bullshit their way out. No, you stole it. You stole it. You stole it. Saying that shit every day for a year. Eventually, he was able to prove it. But, Unirock takes a lot of risk, because I'm not saying they stole anything. I'm still talking about allegedly. Unirock says he knows.
Allegedly. Yes. Scam, allegedly. We don't know.
allegedly.
Based on what they've said, it's a scam.
Yeah.
It is my opinion that it looks mighty sketch.
If what they're saying is true, to me, that's a scam. But I don't know if what they're saying is absolutely true.
Misha
Oh,
Griffith
Misha.
chimes in, says we have no idea what the restructuring of the loan between Shawn and Reds was, because they both shared the same PayPal account, according to Reds.
I mean, that's not weird at all, is it? Like
No.
to have a friend you just share accounts with. Everybody does that.
No, not a PayPal account.
Everybody
account.
does it.
PayPal account's got to be linked to a bank account or a credit card.
Right.
It is linked to a bank account. It's linked to Shawn's ex-girlfriend's account. Duh.
Oh, right. The one who stole the $10,000 the first time when he lost it?
No.
They had raised up
It was less
$10,000?
than 10. It was less than 10K. It was whatever they had collected at that point.
Oh, okay. So I do apologize. Less than 10K.
This is what's called a crock of crap. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Like, come on, people. Like, how many fundraisers are there in total, and what's the grand total amount here for all of them?
We're talking about like $100,000.
Are you fucking dumb?
All together. If everything.
Anybody out there who's listening, who's given money to those, are you fucking dumb? If you're going to do that, you make sure your bills are paid first and you're taken care of before you give any money to anybody else ever on the internet.
You know why I think I care about it a little bit like this? I think besides my maybe, Schadenfreude of these nonsense people, but maybe I think part of it is that anytime we do a fundraiser on the YouTubes, there is a huge percent of our most loyal watchers and followers that are people that maybe have to stay at home a lot. Maybe they have a limited income themselves. Maybe they are, the working class, whatever they are. And so when you take money from them or ask for them to donate to something, I feel like you kind of owe them some accountability, because they're not rich people either. Not everybody's Ruhif, right?
No. And even when they do a semi-transparent GoFundMe, okay, so you can do GoFundMes, right? Even when they do GoFundMe, they always give the option of people to send it to PayPal through Shawn Huff. That's just so silly. And then they never transcribe it over to the GoFundMe. And I know you can do this because my daughter had a GoFundMe recently for her husband's surgery, which she fully funded through that crowdfunder. So he can indeed have his surgery now. But what she did is some people offered to send her money different ways, right? So I sent her money through PayPal, and some other people sent her money the same way. What she did is she put it onto her GoFundMe. She's and the way it looks is it says anonymous donated $100, right? Anonymous donated 6,000 or whatever it was. It wasn't that much, but like $600. And then it all adds up, and then everybody can just go to the GoFundMe and say, oh, they met their goal. They're doing okay. Yeah, we did it. And it's all in one place, and it's all accounted for on the GoFundMe. But no, they didn't do that. It's sort of just like, oh, we're going to trust Shawn Huff because he's, he's such a bastion of freaking trustworthiness. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah, he's trustworthy. He only allegedly lost a lot of money once.
Yeah.
This whole thing even is worse than that, because remember how they railed against GE's wife, Mr. A, for the non sequitur. How could you support Kyle?
They were vicious to GE and Casey.
Yeah.
Oh
They
my
kicked
God.
GE out, but now the shoe was on the other foot, right? Rhetoric was, Shawn is the most honorable man on the planet. I've vouched for him with all my credibility.
He
And
used
now, he took every dime, right? He left nothing to cheer. No, I took it all. So now, how are they going to handle that? Because now I saw they were trying to cast Reds out. He's not a bad guy, but we can't really work with him right now. That's temporary. What they did to GE,
3 months. 3 months max.
that's what they did to GE was excommunication, right? Because he supported Kyle, even though Kyle was doing the same thing, right? Lying to GE. GE believed it.
And they raged against them on a campaign with very horrible things, as if he stole from Steve himself.
Now the shoe was on the other foot. Now it's Reds, it's AT2, all of them, right? They were all on streams for this fraud, allegedly, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're all on these streams. So now, what about casting them out? Because even though Kyle stole from Steve, right? They stole from hundreds of people or however many people gave these fundraisers. That's a lot of people.
Yeah. People like Manya who work 2 jobs. Yeah. They took her, she donated. And Cheshire donated her body. So, oh God.
I'm sure that went well.
She doesn't have money, so she had to display her body for everybody. It's just like, oh wow, that's actually kind of worse. It's getting worse and worse the more you hear. Yeah. But
it's very strange.
Yeah, I don't believe anything Shawn Huff says. He's a skeevy son of a bitch. I don't believe anything he's ever said. Anything. Nothing. I think I'm entitled to think what I want, right? In my opinion.
Yeah, but
I think he's a con job.
Yes, but why the hell would he do something like this though? Like, did he think that people are just too stupid to find out? Like, this is a real bad F up. You know what I'm saying? This is not like something simple.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he started. Here's what I think. I think maybe that he'd been getting some. We hear some rumors that he was getting other fundraisers privately from people prior to this, like to turn on his electric bill and that sort of thing, just prior to this newest fundraiser. And also when he had a death in the family, they raised money and went and handed his mother a wad of cash on camera, on video, and then uploaded that to the internet. So they're able to give people wads of cash. So that was nice. And then they were able to give him money for his electric bills not being paid. And that's nice. I think he just figured he was entitled to it.
Yeah, well,
at that point.
If we're talking about just opinion, this is my opinion. I have no evidence of it. But then he got fired from his job from being late, right? Then that's when they will go on this fundraiser journey. And I think it's easier to ask for money than it is to work for it, you know? And you can throw up excuses. Oh, they're doing this to me. They're doing this to me. You know, they fired me because I'm late every day, but they really were discriminating against me. What? No. If you're late every day, then, you know, they're not going to let you continue to work, you know? You got to.
I don't even believe that boobs thing. I don't believe anything he says. I don't believe it. I don't believe any of it. None. Zero. Prove it. Yeah, because that surgery that he had sort of happened like overnight. It just was, boop. I've had that surgery. Yeah, it's not something you recover from like 2 days later or something. Sorry,
Yeah, I'm
it
so
doesn't work that
confused by
way.
all that. I don't even understand that part, but I do know that the science of what he was describing about what was going on there seems very debatable. So maybe sometime we can go through the science of Shawn's boobs and whether or not they're legit or not, because like he was saying some weird things. At one point he was saying he couldn't remove them because if he did, all these bad things would happen to his body. And other times he's like, and then one day they weren't there anymore. So I don't know.
Yeah, he's getting a new girlfriend, and all of a sudden, yes, he's able to do that.
I almost
Interesting.
suspect
It's like,
I mean, to me, I was like, because he wore makeup one time and stuff. I was like, was he somebody that maybe thought he wanted a sex change and then said, never mind? I don't
well, I don't
know.
know. But all I know is that it's easy to strap those right on your body and make it look like you have boobs. We know this, right? We
But what a
know
weird ailment to say that you have. I was like,
yeah, I just don't believe anything he said. So was he discriminated against, or was he just showing up late? Yeah, I think he was just showing up late, personally. And then he got fired from a Walmart where he'd been for years. What'd you say? What do you think of that, Headless?
I don't know. I just don't know if that's like a peak to your whole life that you got fired from a Walmart. That takes a lot of work to get fired from Walmart.
yeah, it's, I mean, they're pretty accepting of a lot of weirdness.
Yeah.
You have to be basically incompetent at life. But I mean, yeah, most of the time they can, I mean, there's the basic tenets of like be on time, for instance. Show up to work. Don't, just ghost work. And so if you start doing that nonsense, they're gonna let you go.
Okay, so Shadow Tig is proving me wrong. You saw his boobs.
Titties have been confirmed.
Oh yeah. By the way, Shawn Hufford's
I mean, but how?
Shawn Hufford's titties go back to the Nadia hangout days.
Dude, I can put fake boobs on. I know because I have had a mastectomy. So I mean, like, how do you know?
No, they've been on camera.
Naked?
Like, yeah, he had his shirt off.
Allegedly thing.
This was back in Nadia days on G Plus when she was doing all those live streams.
Okay, all right. And what'd you see? Skin?
You saw a guy with tits.
Okay.
Is this allegedly? We're not talking. This is not allegedly.
Allegedly.
No,
Allegedly.
this is factual. He really did have something there. Now, anything lately?
But I have
Haven't
to
seen
say,
anything.
let me say this. He was pretty damn perky. Like, so normally when you see men that have a condition where they're, getting some mammary action there, like it's usually kind of flops over and folds over and just kind of gets like fatty. And his were perky, which was like that's why I thought, well, maybe you had surgery to get like this, and it's not this thing that you're describing. So that's why I was always wondering, like, yeah.
I don't believe anything, but if you're telling me that you've seen them, okay, then all right, I believe that much. I'll believe you that you saw that.
Yeah. So at this point, we're just not sure what we think is true with Shawn. Yeah, and we're going.
But like,
I mean, take his word for it.
If I hadn't heard it, I wouldn't believe it because I just looked at this guy, so honest looking when he made up these lies. Yeah, he just confidently told everybody a big line of shit. So I mean, like, it takes a lot to be able to do that without, like increasing your blood rate and doing a lot of extra blinking and that sort of thing, right? So, yeah.
Let's just kill it out. Shawn wasn't going to come forward until the lease came out. When the lease came out, he was caught. And just imagine that people said, well, hey, your lease didn't even start yet. He was like, how the hell would you know when the lease starts? Like, that's his excuse. You know what I'm saying?
How would you not know? Like, you signed it, dude. You signed it.
Like,
so
we made us sign the lease earlier. So, I just did the rent. So who knew what the rent was? 10 days, 10 months. I get so confused. Oh yeah, Shawn didn't mean to scam us. He really just had a couple of hours left on his lease. It was the last day of his lease, but he didn't read it.
Nate, are you allegedly saying he only had 10 hours left on his lease?
No. 10 days. 10 days. He had 10 days left on his lease. It could have been 10 hours.
10 hours.
Didn't matter.
So, okay, what do we say to the people? So we've watched a lot of the apologists, circle the wagons and do battle for Shawn, even after Shawn said that he was going to talk to Sly and tell him to knock it off because he didn't know everything. But they were still going to battle on Twitter, right? And I saw that you linked, the video of Shawn saying, to chill. These people that are doing the I don't care, it still went to him moving. What do you say to that?
That's not true, right? First, the whole premise of the fundraiser was false, right? Nothing about what everybody was told was false. I mean, was true. So where he was going to move to, right? He was supposed to move to Florida, right? False. Job in Florida, false. 10 months of rent need to be paid, false, because of the buyout clause, Rent, the amount of rent, false. So nothing about the story was true. So if people say, well, we gave him to move and he eventually moved, well, we got to be technical here, right? The majority of that money was supposed to go to the landlord, right? And he said he gave it to the landlord. So if that's what you were giving to, and that didn't happen, then I'm sorry, you were scammed. And even if he did move, he was supposed to give refunds in, because from my understanding, to pay 10 months of that lease was $7,450. That left about $2,650 left, right, for $10,000. So even if he just spent the $2,600 for the move, I would say, okay, I understand that. But he didn't do that. He spent it all.
Yes, he did. And by the way, Fiona had a good point. Yeah, but it wasn't that I was hammering him. Let me make it very clear. I don't believe anything he says. Yeah, I just don't believe anything. None of his stories, do I believe.
So now you're like, can anybody verify it? Because clearly we can't trust them. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So why would I believe any of this? And now, then I start seeing it as somebody who would even lie about having a condition, I mean, because it fits what I've just seen. So anyway, so I wasn't trying to hammer him on that and on having that condition, but without evidence, I don't believe anything. So apparently my friend has seen them. So, I mean, if you're telling me that, that's cool. I get you. So I'll believe that much. And that's unfortunate.
But now, the one thing I do want to the whole story, if we can all agree the whole story was fake, right? Every first I'll ask you guys too, if a part of the story was true, just let me know. I could just be not remembering something. But from my understanding, the entire story was false. The reason why they asked for the money, the whole thing, right? So how is this not a scam? If understanding the premise that everything Shawn said about his condition when he asked for the money was false, didn't need to pay off 10 months. Matter of fact, he had a buyout clause. He didn't, the rent wasn't what he said it was. He wasn't going to the place he said he was going,
Yeah, I've been reading a lot of Cy Strikling's excuses, if that's Cy Strikling typing and not Shawn himself, right?
Oh, it's her.
Using her account. But anyway, from that account, I've been reading all these excuses, and it's basically the same story over and over and over again.
Well, what's the excuse?
The excuse is Shawn didn't know that there was a clause. He didn't read his lease, so he was under the impression he needed to have, $7,500 to give to the landlord.
Did he not ever think to go ask the landlord?
Even though people were telling him live, we got this footage on camera where Team Skeptic is saying, "Isn't there renters' rights in your area?" And you can see Shawn getting annoyed at Team Skeptic during that stream, by the way, if you notice. He's like, there's renters' rights. There's protections for renters for just exactly what you're describing. You lost your job and you have no money. Yeah. they can't, they work with you and that sort of thing. And he's like, nope, nope. In my state, this is how it is. And, you know.
That's because they wanted the money. He knew he wasn't. He was probably laughing in the background. Come on. You know? My lease don't even start yet, buddy.
Well, what really pissed me off is anybody who asked got attacked. Anybody who asked was either attacked or mocked. And
Right.
and I even saw Shawn doing this in Nate when I was moderating Nate's live stream before the stream started. And Shawn Hufford came over into Nate's stream before the stream started and said, I wonder if Nate is going to know the secret evidence that we have. Yeah. And blah, blah. And he was like taunting people and stuff. And so a couple of people in the live chat were like, yeah, Shawn, whatever happened to that money your girlfriend stole? Yeah. She stole the money from your bank account that was donated to you.
Allegedly.
Explain that. That's what they were asking him. Yeah.
Yeah, allegedly. He doesn't use the word stolen, though. You notice he always stopped Jared when Jared almost said that. He's like, don't say the word.
So one of the things Shawn does, I noticed, I was watching him very closely, and I was moderating the live chat, so I was being very cool and polite. Yeah. He likes to taunt people and just like, haha, you know, like, you don't know. Oh, your other guess again, you know, ha ha ha. This is a funny joke type of thing. And I have all the information and you are so stupid because you're even asking me these questions. That type of attitude, right? And when Shawn said that he couldn't report, that people started asking him, well, why couldn't you report the fraud to the police? Yeah. Why couldn't you report her for stealing the money? And he was like, I'm not able to because it was a shared account. And I said, I'm sorry, Shawn, but that's untrue. Whether it's a shared account or not, if she took donations and she wasn't supposed to be taking, of course you can report that. That's theft. Yeah. So like, and then he just wandered off, you know, like he does the same thing Cy Strickling does when you ask the actual hard question. Yeah. She just doesn't reply back. It's the same thing Shawn did that night too.
Interesting. Jesus Louise. So, I mean, someone was saying going forward, like, you know, like now that we've established that Shawn is untrustworthy, you know, like going forward, like, you know, what does this mean? Or, you know, what can we do? And I mean, really nothing. If you think something's a scam and you believe that it should be investigated, I mean, I think you can turn it in if it hits that magic 10K mark. You can turn it into the FBI. I mean, that is possible. But other than that, like, I mean, what can you do except, you know, point out like the pothole and, you know, say like, you can step in it, but, you know, like, don't step in it. I don't know what else to do except to say, you know, like, you know, I mean, we're not going to really achieve any sort of internet justice or anything like that. That's not at all. But I think pointing out so that people are wiser and smarter, I think that's helpful.
I noticed, did Nate just leave? I noticed that in that stream on the Veterans Talk Weekly, when they were all hanging out with Red's Rhetoric, I noticed Red's seems to really want to do more fundraisers. Even after all of this. He was sort of
blink an eye, does he?
He was sort of doing that thing where
I gotta drop up, guys.
He said, okay, see you, Headless.
Yeah.
He was doing that thing where he's like, this is so upsetting to me that I am not going to do any more fundraisers, right? But then later, you know, he started wanting to do that thing where he polls other people and sort of gets them to convince him to hold more fundraisers. And nobody did. But you could tell he wanted to do it. He really, really did. And I think that's because fundraisers make people feel good. Yeah. It feels good to help others, right?
Oh, I think, yeah, there is something. I mean, I would say, I mean, there are fundraisers that I've contributed to where it does feel good to be part of it and be like, damn, we got so and so a wheelchair, or like so and so can have surgery, and stuff like that. But I think what's tough is there's so many grifters out there, allegedly, that now it's almost like we should require transparency and receipts, unfortunately. I mean, I hate to
Yeah.
do it, but
It isn't actually that hard to do. I mean,
yeah,
I had to really do it. Yeah. I had to sit down and think about what I was doing. I'm asking people for money, so I have to be very honest about what it is I'm doing here. Yeah. Um, and like it's not only that, but like okay, let's just if you're holding a fundraiser and you have $7,500 on your lease, you can show your lease without doxing yourself. Yeah. You can do that. It's actually possible to do it. So I mean, this lie that they were telling that they couldn't do it without doxing Shawn is just nonsense. And people have come to accept nonsense. That's the problem. They've come to just believe people that are, the big tough channels. And okay, so like especially like the poor marks, I'll just call them what they are, who raised money for cancer, somebody with cancer, and didn't even like show a diagnosis. They just said stage 1 cancer. Well, what's the diagnosis? Why is it so embarrassing? There's nothing to be embarrassed about, right? Yeah, it's personal information, but at least give some information. And then when you get $7,000 or $4,000, just say, this is going to help a lot. Here are the bills I'm paying, and show the receipts for those things. Right? Am I wrong? I mean, I don't hear anybody is giving me any feedback on that. I mean, go look at GoFundMe. There's countless GoFundMes where people are being transparent about these things. And they do
right.
give advice on the site itself. So
Yeah, it is really, it's one of those things where it's such a good tool, fundraising, right? Like, especially for instance, in America with our terrible medical care in America, particularly, that it's such a nice tool to have in your tool bag, and to have people use fundraisers basically the same way as you would a super chat or a cash app thing, where it's like where people are tipping you for entertaining them, right? That's what super chats are. They're tips for entertainment, or that's
Mhm.
and you get a
Yeah.
kickback. But like, and Patreon is tipping, and sometimes Patreon makes promises, sometimes it doesn't. But you're just paying the creator to be a creator.
Right.
But fundraisers typically come with like a sob story or a goal, or and something that they're achieving. And I forgot to ask Nate. What I was going to ask Nate is, like, are we obligated to actually use all or just a very small percentage of a fundraiser? Because I heard that some people have gotten away with not being held accountable because they only used a very small percentage of the fundraiser for what was actually used.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's one of those things. Fiona, I linked it here, but if you can't, can you?
She's got a Mac. Maybe she can't get in with a Mac.
That's true. Let me see if I can link it somewhere else real quick. Well, one time, Mowdy gave me a link, and I just could not get into the link, and it wasn't until someone else linked it over to me that I could finally pop in. It was the weirdest thing. I always forget Fiona's username and other platforms. It's hilarious. I'm like, Fiona, where are you? There you go.
Click the link, Fiona.
There, I sent it on Discord as well. So if you see it.
Or Misha, do you want to come in?
I'd love Misha to pop in if she's.
Because Misha has like a little bit more insight, I think, into what's going on with this particular issue. But I don't know.
So I'm gonna
She might have
play.
left. She might be gone.
Yeah, while we're waiting for maybe Fiona to see if she can get a link to work. Oh, you're backstage now. There you are. Okay, there you go. You're in.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent. Listen, something I wanted to say. It's been bothering me since all this went down, and this might not be a popular opinion. Looking at the situation, from what I've been able to glean, Shawn's 27-year relationship was on the rocks, and then he loses his job, and I wondered if he was like a deer caught in the headlights,
Like Kyle.
in a complete and utter panic. And I mean, if his friends wanted to help him, the first thing they would have said was, right, let's see your lease.
Yeah.
And let's see what we can do here. But whether by design or whether just out of habit of running fundraisers, they went straight down the fundraiser path. And I wonder if being a deer caught in the headlights, being in an absolute panic, what am I going to do? That's when Shawn got confused over the lease. Did he start out to deliberately scam? I can't answer that. I really can't. And I have to give the benefit of the doubt there. But afterwards, he's then caught in this position where I think he didn't believe people telling him about the your buyout clauses, etc. And I think maybe he still genuinely believed he hadn't raised enough money to be able to get out of the lease. And that's when he just did a runner. Now, I may be being too charitable here. And maybe, I don't know.
Well, at least you are being charitable.
Not
many people are.
To be quite frank, when it comes, I've got no reason to be charitable here. I've got every reason to be uncharitable, but this is just me, okay? But here's the concern I have now. Shawn's been hung out to dry. But not only that, by continuing to make excuses for him, they're keeping this in the public eye, so to speak, in the YouTube sphere. And they're not doing Shawn any favours. Now, they may be angry with him and they want him to get everything that's coming to him. Or they may just be friends who aren't thinking straight. But the more that they go out defending him, like fight, etc., the worse it's making it for Shawn. I mean, I heard him in that first stream in the plot hole. That didn't sound like somebody faking it. That did sound like somebody really upset.
So you're talking about Shawn?
I am. The guy that screamed incoherently at me and called me all sorts of names. Yes. I'm trying to just look on the other side here.
Well, hold on. Fiona, I always understand that you can give charity to the other side, right? I think Shawn is a very intelligent person. There was one time Shawn made a mistake in criticizing me on a point that I made. And when it was brought to his attention that he made a mistake, he sent me a message. Hey, Nate, I know we don't see eye to eye. Here is a point that I made in this video. I was incorrect, and I said something about you that was wrong. I'm going to do a follow-up video to make the correction. And he did. And this is a guy, you know, anti-Nate, he loves Steve, that type of thing. And I thought that was pretty exceptional of him to do that, to feel so bad about just putting out something so simple that was incorrect, that he then made this effort to correct the record. Okay, good guy. But I think we need to judge his actions by what we know to be true. And giving people the benefit of the doubt works when things make sense, right? And if it's 50-50, then I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. But if we're at the, I gotta believe, you know, you're walking on water and flapping your wings and flying, then I can't give the benefit of the doubt. Now, first thing, I'll start with this. If this man says he needs 10 months rent, I don't believe at the beginning he thought that was true. 2 reasons why. Number one, he only had 10 days on his lease. So even if I give him the benefit of the doubt to say, well, who looks at the lease? This is this. Listen, I have rented all my adult life. And I have gone from apartment to apartment, place to place. And at that time, and there's sometimes I'll be like, hey, did the lease start in September? Did it start in August? But if I ever had a problem where I needed to pay off my lease, I'm going to go look at my lease, right? I'm going to go call the management company and ask them, hey, listen, if I wanted to leave the lease early, what are my options, right? Reasonable people would do that. He just came up with a number, which happened to be wrong, and then said he needed to pay off 10 months of a lease that he's never read. He admits he's never read it. He said he didn't call the management company because somebody 2 years ago told the management company he didn't have a job and he was immediately evicted. You don't have to tell him you don't got a job. You just got to tell him how can you cut the lease off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
I get all that. I get that.
If we're being reasonable, this guy has told us he didn't pay off the lease, right? Because he knew and I'm saying at the beginning of this thing, since every single fact that he fed us happened to be false, and the only reason why he came forward is because we had absolute proof it was false, then no, I don't give him the benefit of the doubt that says he didn't know what he was doing until there's something that's brought to me that at least makes me think that, yeah, there was some question, because you can't tell me you don't know your rent, you don't know your lease, but yet you have you know how much you need to pay it off. And you know, and you don't call the management company because something happened to somebody else 5 years ago that has nothing to do with you. And now all of a sudden, I got to give you the benefit of the doubt. I don't know. It's just not happening.
You see, that's why I said, I wonder if just everything that was happening at that one time in his life meant that he just panicked. And that's why I used the deer in the headlights phrase. Because I know that in completely different situations, but in like a panicky situation like that, I know I've frozen. And for a little bit, I've absolutely panicked. But then I've been able to sit myself down and say, okay, Fiona, get a grip. Think about this. And realised, whoops, I've got this wrong. Or this is how I handle it. This is what I need to do. And I'm just wondering if he's got himself into such a state that he wasn't thinking straight.
But maybe you can.
I don't know the answer to that.
But maybe you can grant that to him in the beginning, right? Even
yes,
if I was to grant that.
Talking about the beginning, that's all I'm talking about at that point.
Even if I was to grant that, though, I would still have to have some reason to believe that's the case, because you're asking me to accept something that's a little bit that's pretty exceptional. Because generally the way it goes is, what would a reasonable person do? Would a reasonable person say they've never read their lease, they don't know how much long their lease is, and don't know how much their rent is, but are going to ask people to pay off the rent without doing that basic step, right? And we're talking about Shawn Huff here. So this is just not some fawn in the woods 13-year-old, right? This is Shawn Huff, Mr. Break It Down, Mr. Logic, Mr. You know, if you give more to a GoFundMe, they should refund your money. That's Shawn Huff we're talking about. So now if you put together who we're talking about, the situation that presents itself, and then say, this Shawn Huff, the guy that we know, that's right, isn't that what Red said? Isn't that what FTE, they all say, this was the most logical, step-by-step guy that we knew. I'm taking all that into account. You can't tell me he didn't know this was going
See,
on.
I've seen the other side of him, Nate. Though I've seen the other
Absolutely
side.
irrational. Out of control.
When he was under a lot of pressure, I saw a completely different side. That's the reason I have that question in my mind.
Well, he lives life like it's by the seat of his pants. Like
Yeah,
he's making decisions that we can see just from afar on the outside that aren't very logical, right?
yeah, exactly. But I mean, from a couple of encounters that I had that were completely off the wall, batshit crazy. When he was under horrendous pressure at the time. Anybody would have been under horrendous pressure given the circumstances, but his reaction to it was very strange, and that's the reason I just wonder if it started out as that. But what I can't give him any points for is when he was asked, did you pay the landlord? What was it, the phrase? Did you pay the landlord hard cash check? And he said, yes, I did. And then all this rigmarole about looking for the receipt and having left it in a desk, all of that was deliberate lies.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if what got him into that position in the first place was a deer in the headlights moment right back at the beginning. Where
I think
any decent friend would have sat him down and said, right, let's see the lease, let's work this out.
he doesn't have decent friends.
Well, there is that.
What they had at the time, if you remember, is they were riding the high of destroying Kyle Curtis. They were super popular because of that, right?
Speaking of deer in the headlights.
And I think they figured they could just skeeve some money off the community.
Well, yeah, I do wonder if that was a motivation of others in this. I don't know. This is a difficult one for me because,
Well, how can you figure out these people's motivations really truly other than
I can only go by what I've experienced from them in the past.
Really quick. I'm sorry.
But that's the reason why I'm saying that I'm able to give the benefit of the doubt for how it began. I can't give the benefit of the doubt further down the line, though.
Well, once you start the road of a lie or allegedly, or some misinformation or half truths, you feel like you have to continue it, right? It usually doesn't stop with one.
Exactly.
Usually, like, I don't know, when I was an investigator, one of the things that we always used to do is go back for the truth, right? Go try to follow the trail back to when you could find the first thing the person said, or the first piece of evidence. You say, okay, this is something that's true, and then kind of build your way back from there. And here with this story, it's hard to do that. And as soon as we found the lies late, then that was built on another lie. Then that was built on another lie. Then that was built on another lie. And at the point, we can't find the truth right now, right? And now we're at the point where we want to give the person the benefit of the doubt on this statement when you know every other statement after that.
I know, Nate.
And I'm saying I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt on that first one, right? Because even though the one that one was built on is a lie, the one that he had to tell 25 lies about that first statement. But I'm going to give him the benefit of that first statement. No,
I know. I understand that.
Unless he can prove to me that he didn't know that his lease starts September 1st. If you can tell me he didn't know that I'm like, come on, really?
And Misha, he lived at the same apartment. He stayed right there where he was. You said you wanted to know where he lived from September to November. He just stayed where he was and ordered Grubhub. That's what he says.
I've got more.
Misha wants to know where was he September 1st to November? I thought he went to Psy.
Well, this is what he says. He says he paid the September rent, right? So he paid September rent. Then he says that, which doesn't make any sense to me. But I don't practice Indiana, so I don't know. But this also sounds fishy. So he says that he needed to pay the utilities for the apartment because if he doesn't pay the utilities, you can also be evicted. So not only do you have to pay your rent, you have to pay your utilities, which sounds a little strange to me because unless your utilities is included with your rent, generally, if you have to pay them separately, the building doesn't care about your utilities as long as you pay your rent, right? So he says he had to pay, and it was $250 because they were back.
My
Oh my God.
requires utilities, actually.
Yeah.
Move on
That's
to
what I'm saying. You could. I'm not saying it's not possible, but generally that's happened. So if you're right, maybe
make sure that you can
You could
turn
just
the
read
lights
in the
on and the
lease.
gas.
You can read in the lease to find out if they were handling that shit.
Even if it's not. So in September he says he spent about $1,000, right, to pay off the 1 month's rent and the utilities, the back utilities before they get turned off. So now you can take $1,000 off the $7,450. You can take that off.
Yeah.
And granting that he has to pay utilities or he gets evicted. The next month, now when he spoke to I forget, Johnny O, he only first when they asked him, well, did you use any of the money for rent? He said, yes, I paid September's rent.
Yeah.
So that's all he paid, and the utilities. Then the next couple of months, then you got October, which I don't know if to give him the benefit of the doubt he paid or not. And then he says he has November, which he left. So those last 2 months, I'm not sure if he paid or not. But he said he did pay utilities. So I'm assuming the utilities are going to be $250 because $250 were when they built up, right? He was about to get shut off. So I'm assuming the utilities, if possible, I'll give him $200, right, for those 2 months. So that's $400 for those last 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Utilities.
Yeah.
So at most, he's got $2,000 that he can spend just on, staying there or whatever.
Close the door, babe. This one. And what the other thing he did is he went on a road trip.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
To visit a sick relative.
No, he went to go visit his girlfriend. The girl he was about to move in with.
When Cy Strike died,
Cy
Strike, the original Cy Strike.
Oh.
When he died, he claims that he went to visit his aunt or something who was very, very ill, and he did that via road trip.
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
That's something else.
Because he said that, after, so he says from September he paid, then they talk about November when he left. And he's like, yo, we left in November, and by November 23rd, I had no money left. And he said, but when he went to New Jersey, I think right before November 23rd, he went to New Jersey, and he had like $1,100 left out of the $7,000 raised. So that's when everybody was saying, like, well, hold on, how come you spent all that? How'd you spend all the money within really 3 months? Because the money should have lasted you a little longer than that, and at least the rent, for instance, would have been paid. So that's when it was coming to like, yo, what did you do? What did you actually do with the money? They asked him if he had a substance abuse or whatever, and it just went down the line from there. But that's the issue now. It's like, what did he actually do with the money? Because he essentially spent all the money September, October, and November. On November 23rd, he was out of money. So
I'd love to be able to spend money like that.
Right? That's a lot of money.
I think the only time I've managed to do it is in blinking vet bills for horses.
Go on, take the money and run. Woo!
And
Hey, Mr. Porpoise.
And since he didn't pay the rent, right?
Sketchy
That was all cash. That was all cash.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the benefit of the doubt business I'm talking about is only at that very first point where he didn't understand his lease. That's the only bit I'm talking about. That's it.
I know, but I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
But everything else after that, that is just an absolute mess.
That's the fraud right there. They knew they had to come up with a reason to get Shawn a lot of money. Yeah. And so they made up a lie. He did
$10,000, 10 grand.
Here's a question I have though. So he had to pay back a loan that Reds gave him. So that would explain a bunch of money appearing in Red's account. Did he ever?
What? How do you have evidence of that money appearing in Red's account?
No, I don't. What I'm saying is this. He said he had to pay back this loan, okay? Now, that would be a reason for a wad of cash suddenly turning up in Red's account from Shawn. So if anybody investigated the accounts, that the excuse is already out there.
Well, hold on.
But the question I have to ask myself is this, or is this just a way to try and camouflage Red's cut of the entire scam?
Well, hold on.
This is opinions,
Allegedly.
This is all opinion, but something interesting you just said. All right. Shawn Huff left the post about a year ago on that video saying that he didn't have enough money. The fundraiser didn't spend enough money, which we know was a lie, and that he needed to get a loan from Reds to cover some other stuff. And he had paid Red back that loan, right? So he pays Red back that loan. Now, obviously, this is the time doing the fundraiser money. So if he gets so he really doesn't have anything to pay. He doesn't have anything about except for the fundraiser money to pay Reds back. But when you look at FTFE's video, he also says Shawn Huff got a loan, and he says that loan was $2,000. So I'm not sure. Did he get that loan? Is that the same loan that Shawn Huff says he got?
No, Cy Strickling got a loan as well. So
got the one specifically that Shawn Huff got. Now, Fight the Flat Earth said specifically Shawn Huff got a $2,000 loan, and Shawn Huff says I got a loan from Reds, but he doesn't say what the amount was. So I'm asking, could that $2,000 be that loan from Reds that was paid back,
or is it a separate loan from someone else, or is it a smokescreen to cover up wads of cash turning up in other people's accounts? I'm just raising that. It's a possibility.
I love that wads of cash story because I just can't stop thinking about how crass it was to film the mother, a grieving mother of Shawn Huff being handed a wad of cash and that being presented as a transparent piece of evidence.
The mother of who?
Shawn's mother. He lost his father, and he went to them. He went to his friend Red's, very upset.
Really awkward.
And so they did a fundraiser, and then the next thing I know, I'm looking at this film of somebody. I think it was Red's filming, and it was Shawn handing his mom a physical wad of cash. Yeah. And it was like an emotional moment. Yeah. It was just, I just thought that was the most crass thing ever.
Oh, that's bizarre. I don't think I remember that at all. You have to let me know when you find that, because that's bizarre.
Okay.
But these people are socially, I don't know what's the word. They have problems socially, obviously. Do I have a limited amount of spaces? I brought in Sinister. Did I kick out Nate by accident?
He's gone.
Okay. He's not even in the backstage. Nate, if you need to pop in the backstage, let me know, as I don't know how do you use this technology.
Why am I hearing myself echoing?
No, I've got headphones.
All right.
Do you have the stream in the background?
No.
Let me see if it echoes in the live chat.
It just started too.
Oh, that's bizarre.
Hold on, is it on my end?
It is so good to see you in that apartment, Sinister Porpoise.
I think Sinister's got sound problems.
Sinister, you're muted.
Test.
Yeah, that's because I think the echo is on my end.
It is. Do you have your YouTube playing? Just mute your YouTube. Just try muting that. You know, if Nate wants to come back in here, I can drop out. There you go. Oops.
Is it still echoing? Yes, it's still echoing.
Is it?
Yeah, yeah. I can hear myself.
And it just happened?
With a delay.
All right, let me try a thing.
I'm going
to temporarily hide Sinister as an experiment. Stand by. Okay, how about now? Is it echoing?
Okay.
Yes, it's still echoing.
Still echoing. Why would it echo?
Test.
Echo. Yeah, echoing.
I don't see why it would be echoing.
Shut up, Halcyon.
So we know it's not Sinister. We're putting Sinister back.
Kick me.
Kick you?
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Hello?
Is there an echo now?
The echo stopped.
Well,
The echo's you, exiled.
I just wanted to say one thing, and I was hoping Nate was here to hear this. I was relatively unconvinced about it until I saw Nate's evidence. Because Nate broke it down pretty clearly, and not to mention, Shawn Huff admitted it.
Yeah, it's been pretty muddled, right? So I was going to play this video actually of Nate's, and I guess we can discuss it. And Nate said that was cool. So let me go ahead and do that. I just felt weird playing his own video in front of him for some reason. I don't know why. I was like, well, maybe we should wait till Nate's here. I don't know what the protocol is. I was panicking. So, and I'm dying. Don't mind me. You can call me. I'll be your Huckleberry.
They hold many fundraisers that have been called into question. Now, there was never any proof either way if these funds were being used as intended or
you guys
if they
can hear
weren't being
okay?
used as intended.
Yeah.
Their community had to trust them. Now, we all know how fundraisers work. If you raise money for a specific purpose, you spend it on that stated purpose. For instance, if I want to raise $1,000 to pay tuition and I raise $1,000, I then have to use that money to pay tuition. I can't just use that money on anything, right? That would be fraud. That would be a scam. Now, for years, people complain that the money being collected in these fundraisers.
Look at that grid. Now, this is the Unirock grid, is it not?
Yeah, they put that together.
Yeah, so like a team of people that are working with Unirock and his Discord and stuff like that put together a visual grid of the very many fundraisers that were used for different reasons. And just to have the visual, because a lot of us have been talking and have this buzz about like, you know, this is just too much. There's some stuff that's just a little, excuse me, pardon me, a little bit too weird. That was lovely. A little bit too weird, a little bit too off. And then like to just have that grid and that visual of like, these are how many, and there's probably more, but these are how many that they allocated into the grid is actually impressive. So we do appreciate your work. And like I said, I think credit where credit's due. Just taking the time to put it all in one spot is very tremendously helpful.
Weren't being used for their stated purposes. And anyone who questioned the validity of any of the fundraisers were attacked and even kicked out of the group. But with any good scam, they played their hand. Now, to unravel the scam, I will go over the claims and the facts, and you will decide if this is a scam or not. Now, on August 22nd and August 23rd, Shawn Huff held a fundraiser for this reason.
So, and this is to kind of, this is for you to tell your story about all the things that he thinks are fraudulent.
Jared, can you show
back to the
screen inside the call again?
Okay. So one of the goal, I asked you why that goal was set, the $10,000 goal, and what was the specific reason for that goal?
Okay, the goal was to cover 10 months of lease because the lease was signed July 3rd. So July's rent was already paid, August rent was already paid, which left 10 months left on the lease. In Indiana, a landlord is supposed to provide every effort to try to get a rental apartment leased out to somebody else if the original leaseholder is he either evicted or moves out, because the original leaseholder is responsible for all of the time that the apartment is empty. Now, the complex that I lived in has a very, very nasty habit, which they are still living up to this day, of saying that an apartment is under renovation until that lease would have run out. That way they don't have to worry about, repair expenses from people breaking stuff in case, like say your dishwasher goes out. They don't have to worry about that. They don't have to worry about paying to replace that. That's free money in their pocket. It's unethical for them to do, but unless you can prove that the apartment is actually rentable and they're not, you can't do anything about it. So you have to pay for a lease in full until it's rented out, which I've already actually got reached out to by an old friend in Elkhart that I haven't talked to in years. Asked me what's going on. He didn't even know that I moved. So I had him go and check if the apartment's still if it's been rented yet. It's still empty. And it's been 6 months.
Cool story, bro.
If you had just left, if you had just your shit and walked away, what would have happened?
What would have happened is when the lease would have ran out, they rent the apartment out again to somebody else. They would have hit me for every month of rent in court that the apartment was left empty. And that would have been up to 10 months. So I wanted to make sure that was.
Nah.
Let me find the date of that stream that we're playing right now.
Down to Florida while dropping her.
Okay, go ahead.
Actually, I don't know. I don't know the date of it. I don't have the date of that.
It's well over a year.
This stream?
Yeah.
I want to say it was. I think I sent this stream over to you, and I can't remember either.
It's over a year ago. Sure it is.
Also, if Nate wants to get back in, you can have up to 6 on the basic plan for StreamYard.
Okay, I couldn't remember, so I was just hoping I didn't kick him out. But yeah, it's just he's been on his cell phone, so he's been in and out.
Okay, so let me see. There was a timeline, but I'm scrolling up in our chat to see if I can find it.
As far as I know, you cannot be held to a contract which is inherently unfair, even if you signed it. And also,
I don't know about that. This is the U.S.
So this is called Unirock losing his credibility and his mind. Okay, so I think I can find this date of this. And the reason I'm saying what's the date of this is because we now know what was going on at that time, right? Hang on a second.
All I'm going to say...
The reason I'm saying you can't be held to a contract that is inherently unfair, and the courts will not back up that contract. But Shawn's contract did have a buyout clause in it for that reason.
Yeah, all I was going to say is let the video play because Nate answers this. That this law in Indiana is actually designed to prevent people from screwing over landlords who are own their properties, aren't like property managers. There's good reason behind it, but basically there is an out that he could have taken.
Her off in Georgia, obviously, and then Florida. So I wanted everything covered without question, which is why there was a $10,000 goal. It was huge, it was lofty, but it would have covered everything.
Worst case scenario, basically.
Worst case scenario. So I just wanted to make sure that everything was covered because it would have taken a while to build up funds to pay that back if we didn't reach that goal at all, working where Red's had a job lined up for me.
Now, from what we talked about, you said that $10,000 fundraiser came up with $7,480 in funds.
Mm-hmm.
And when you did the math on how much that 10 months would have cost to just walk away without worry of eviction and anything else, would have cost $7,450.
Yes, because rent was $745 a month.
So you paid $7,450 hard cash check to walk away.
Yes.
Do you have anything to substantiate that?
Well, since we had to bring everything down in 2 van trips, most of my...
That lie. He's just casual about that. Yes. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
He just said it so easily.
Yep. That's the lie that he admitted to eventually.
Not that I'm covering these people anymore, but they always have been practiced liars.
P&L card, along with the table that had all of our leasing and paperwork involved in that. It was a computer desk in the living room. That's still there as far as, well, that was there. It's empty now. But yeah, there's nothing there. The bank account has been closed because it had a zero balance for like 3 months straight. So they closed the account automatically.
Can you pause it there?
Whatever they did with the desk, that's where the receipt is, or the ex took it with her when she left. One of the
You
two.
recognize that not being able to provide that does raise into question the actual payment, and that is an avenue that you could be attacked from.
Yes, I do, but all I can say to that is, and my credit report is only showing a $92 medical bill, which I have no knowledge of.
An eviction will show up on their credit report should they decide to report it.
That's the bit I was talking about. This convoluted tale about the desk and the receipt being in the desk, and the desk is lost and they can't get the receipt that way.
Well,
even all of that, I mean, that is just outright lies, which she's admitted
You can't
to.
contact the company and actually have them send you an invoice. I mean, it's risky to do that because you're running away from paying them, right?
Well, it's not just that. There is no way he can get a receipt for money that he paid to the landlord when he didn't pay the landlord. You know, they're not going to just hand out a receipt. He didn't pay.
Well, according to them, if they were still on friendly terms with Kyle, they could have him do it.
Oh, God.
Sorry.
Oh, God.
That works.
This is quite the number, but it's 10,000 US.
And there's actually a very legitimate reason for that. Just to explain, where I live now, when you break a lease, you have to pay the remainder of said lease. So I'm at 10 months left on my lease. So that would be 10 months of rent I would have to pay to not get sued. That's why it's a big number.
So here are the claims laid out so we can all understand. Shawn Hufford's rent was $745 a month.
That's a standard rent price for Florida in like a shithole, or anywhere. And that hemisphere, that side of, I don't know, that coastal side, East Coast,
is.
South, 745. That's not very high. It's pretty standard.
Working class, and you know what? It's a nice apartment with all the utilities.
Well, it was nice
not
until
all
they moved into it.
With a washer dryer in there probably, and a dishwasher and all that stuff. So it has all the amenities you need to live.
Exiled is probably. I think Exiled is right, but I'd like to point out one thing. This is an apartment in Indiana, and that's probably a 3-bedroom house without utilities around here. Although they're in Elkhart, and I'm a bit further south than they are.
Here, this won't get you a studio.
No, but you're in California, so that's a completely different. It's like a different country.
No, but like I'm trying to say, like the state that he was in, like this is a reasonable, achievable amount. So to get out of rent, it's an affordable, rent to pay. Like it's not astronomical, right? So
there were 10 months left on his lease.
10 months left on his lease. Must pay the lease in 10 months.
That he had
pay the 10 months
to get out of the lease. To accomplish that, he needed $7,450 to pay off the lease. That he did, in fact, pay the landlord the $7,450. Shawn then said he lost the receipt, and that since no case was filed either on his credit report or in the court of law, that was proof that he paid the landlord. The landlord didn't evict him. So it was shocking when we found this. This is the eviction that Shawn Hufford said he was trying to avoid. Here's his name. Shawn Hufford, December 19th, 2019. And the landlord is suing him for rent not being paid. $6,000. Now, since the landlord is suing Shawn for not paying the rent, the landlord had to include the lease agreement within the filing. Here is Shawn.
There's lease agreement. Just pausing it real fast.
Hufford's name as one of the parties to the lease agreement. Again, these are from the court documents. The term of Shawn Hufford's lease starts on September 1st, 2019. His rent is $765. He signed this lease on June 26, 2019. And this lease even has a buyout provision that gives you the right to buy out the lease early. And to do
Pause
that,
for a second,
you have
please.
to
This is one thing where I think Nate is, not overstating his point. I think 765 and 745 isn't that far off, and it's possible Huffer just misspoke. There are so many other things that he's clearly lying about. I think we can give him this one.
Yeah, but like this, that nobody ever like addressed the buyout here or didn't notice it. We didn't bother. We were so stressed out about like breaking a lease that we didn't bother to read the lease. That's very strange. It's almost like he didn't ever intend to actually do anything the right way.
$100. And here's Shawn Hufford's signature acknowledging that fact. So Shawn Hufford had a fundraiser on August 23rd to pay off the remainder of his lease. The lease ended 8 days later. Now don't get confused because the new lease started in September. Remember, we saw that in the actual lease. Now, even if Shawn wanted to pay off this new lease, he could buy it out for $1,500. Now, if you think about it, his rent was only $765. So that means he could buy out his lease for about 2 months' rent. So now let's match the claims with the facts. Claim 1, rent was $745 a month. So was it? Well, we know from the lease that Shawn Hufford signed that his rent was $765. That's a false claim. What about 10 months being left on the lease? That's not true. There was about 10 days left on the lease. The new lease started on September 1st. So we know he didn't have 10 months left on his lease. Now, these next two claims, seemingly we can take care of together. Did he have to pay 10 months to get out the lease? Did he need $7,450 to pay off the lease? Well, no, because you have this buyout provision that allows him to pay $1,500 to get out the lease by right. Here it is close up. So he could buy out the lease for $1,500, but he raised $7,450. That's a difference of $5,950. So those claims are false too. What about the claim that he says he paid the landlord $7,450? Well, we know that's not true because the landlord sued him for the remaining balance, $6,000. And Shawn Hufford now admits that he didn't pay the landlord.
I have to ask a question that just occurred to me. It just occurred to me that there are two people on that lease. That lease was signed July 25th.
Yep.
And he didn't have a job.
Right.
So not only did Shawn sign it, but his roommate signed it.
Uh-huh.
That's something I'm wondering about because, like, why would anybody do that? I mean, like, why would she do that?
Why would you sign the lease?
Yeah.
Because you have to. So anytime you have a roommate situation, you like, well, I don't know. In our state, a lot of times the contracts will say any adult past the age of 18 has to be put on the lease, and they're treated like a separate tenant.
Yeah.
And they're treated
that.
if you get thrown out, let's say your two roommates, you lose your job or you have to leave or whatever, you can't pay rent. It is on the other person to pay. So it's interesting.
No. My point is, why would the woman sign a lease when she knew Shawn had no job? Like, it does, like, what was she thinking?
Well, maybe she was.
What? I've heard she was not employed. That is what Cy Strikling said, but she doesn't know. Cy Strikling doesn't know whether she was employed or not. Why would she sign a lease when she knows Shawn has no freaking job? Yeah.
A basic question
You
to
can
ask
go.
is,
You can go month to month. You can literally go month to month if you don't sign the lease, right?
but a basic question to ask Excelled would be,
Depending on that.
given that both of them signed the lease, then going on Shawn's thing about you need to pay 10 months rent, wouldn't that mean that each was responsible for half the amount if they both signed it? So there's
no, they're each responsible for all of it.
Right. The way that they rig it in most apartment situations here, and I granted I'm in a really greedy state for housing, but the way that they have it, at least in my state, which is one of the worst I think for rental agreements and the amount that they charge, is they rig it so that each person's responsible for the entirety of the rent. So like you split it in half, that's fine. It's between you and that other person. But when it comes to paying the landlord does not care if it's Shawn or his other person that he's living with. One of them has to cough it all up.
Yeah, no, I know that. But what I'm saying is there is no way that he would have to pay the 10 months and she would have to pay the 10 months.
No.
Right?
No.
That's what
Yeah,
I'm
they
saying.
don't, it doesn't just increase to,
No.
yeah.
That's
they're both just responsible for the lease. Yeah. Doesn't matter who pays it. They don't care about that. They just want the money and you're both responsible for it. Yeah.
Exactly. But Shawn was raising the full amount for himself in the fundraiser.
I don't know either, Maya, but I'm sure there are times when I'd prefer to live there than in Indiana, in the United Kingdom.
It just strikes me as very odd that he was assuming that he was raising the money for the full amount of this.
Yeah, and he was just going to stick her on a bus or whatever, or just drop her off, in the U-Haul drive. I mean, I'm just like, they roped this other person into this lease. Why would it just doesn't make sense? Why anybody?
I don't know if it's roped. I think that they were in some sort of relationship or something. Like I don't think they're roped in. I wouldn't assume that.
It's just real sus. Why would a woman sign a lease with a guy when she knows the guy doesn't have a job?
I don't know. I don't think I've met her, so maybe maybe she's a little bit daft. I don't know.
I'm sure he said that they'd been a couple. They had been a couple for 27 years.
Wow, and he just effed her off, left her with a bad lease, ran off to another woman.
But I'm sure I heard that.
Damn, Shawn. Not only are you dishonest with money, but you did some shady shit in relationships.
Listen, I could be wrong. I'm just saying, I'm sure I heard that somewhere. Sure, Shawn said something about 27 years.
So I heard that she got on a bus. She got on a bus with the money that she took out of the account and took a bus. Right? So, I mean, none of these stories are making any sense at all to me.
I just want to say that if they're in a relationship of some sort, right? And she signs this new lease, and then all this stuff goes down, and then magically he runs off to Thunder Thighs Dominatrix Psy Striking, right? My question would be, how long has he been in relationship with Thunder Thighs Psy? And did that have anything to do with this breakup? I'm just curious. Inquiring minds want to know. It's just opinions, I find it sus that it happened so quickly.
I feel like I need to call adult protective services for this woman at this point, if I had known this was going on at the time.
Next, you're going to tell me Shawn Huff was going to Florida to have a gay relationship with Red's Rhetoric.
I mean, I would probably say that I think that Reds would be the butch one in that, but I'm not absolutely sure.
Oh no! Well, I'm not going. I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
Reds likes to be spooned. He likes to be little spoon.
Reds is a little bitch.
Sorry, I mean, I give you.
It's a really neat echo.
I just have seen him in person, and at the time on the dock in San Francisco, Reds was the little spoon, which was disgusting to me. I don't know why. I just kind of went, ugh, and just looked the other direction.
But there was a reason for that.
Anyway, I'm going to continue the video.
$145 a month.
So you paid $7,450 hard cash check to walk away.
Yes. So I just skipped the lease for December. So no, the landlord was never paid. And then when people started to accuse me of fraud, I lied to everybody.
So now we know this is not true. And we know both of these have to be false because since he didn't pay the landlord, there is no receipt. And we know that there is a case filed. You're looking at it. So every single claim was false. There was absolutely nothing true about any of the reasons why they said they needed these funds. The whole story is false. Matter of fact, I haven't been able to find any part of the story that's actually true. Now, here is Shawn's accomplice trying to ensure victims of this scam that there is nothing wrong and that Shawn did use the money as intended.
Apparently, the landlord wrote down that Shawn left due to an eviction rather than deciding that the apartment and the entire city, for that matter, was not the best place to live or to find work again. As the person who remained in constant communication with Shawn before, during, and after his move, I will again not apologize for hosting this fundraiser for him.
Let me.
Documents that you found don't necessarily make the claim that he didn't pay rent, and secondly,
let me just say that essentially what Red's told you is that most of Indiana sucks.
But he's saying that if you have trouble finding a job, then therefore the landlord shouldn't write it off as an eviction. The landlord has a business too.
That was actually that video happened when they were still pretending that he wasn't evicted for rent. He was evicted for damages to the apartment, and they were whispering that around in the various discords and that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, the hair dye thing, the alleged hair dye, right?
That's the bit where Reds has said that the landlord had ticked the wrong box. And if you actually look at the court document, yes, there is a box to be ticked. The landlord ticked the box that says other. And then he had to write in what the other was. And he wrote in his own handwriting, the landlord, rent. So it's not just a ticking of the wrong box. Not if you have to then write in exactly what it was because you've ticked other.
Oh, God.
Which told me that Red had not seen this court document. So why on earth was he making this assertion that the landlord ticked the wrong box?
It's easy to assume Reds didn't see it, but given how dishonest Reds is, how can we know that he didn't see it? Other than the fact that I don't.
Yeah.
Because it's too easy to get caught out on that one.
He was just listening to Shawn. Shawn was telling him. And they were doing this, like I said, they were doing this stuff, blaming it on the girlfriend that was on the roommate. And it was working for a while. I don't know why they thought they'd get away with this, though. I don't know why Shawn thought he could ultimately get away with this. But this was an active campaign that they were doing for a while with Sly Sparking and Jared in the background running around in Discord.
Dr. Jared.
Spinning what Shawn was telling him without seeing anything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When they could have easily gone to negative exponents and asked to see the information.
Yeah.
If they didn't want to go to Unirock, they could have gone to negative. But it was too late. They had already ostracized negative simply for asking a question. Yeah.
Well, they don't really do well with anyone who criticizes them on anything. Isn't that why most of us are here?
I thought negative was considered Switzerland. I didn't know. I didn't think he was really part of a
He's very
group.
forgiving. He is part of the group. I mean, he was part of that community. He makes flat earth videos and that sort of thing.
Yeah, he's not part of the Unirock group per se, or a XTSTer. He's part of the debunking science community, right?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Yeah, I guess. Why would it matter? I mean, they're
writing everything off. This is what the flat Earth did is they wrote everything off to like, this is Uni's lies. This is Unirock making a big deal out of nothing.
Yeah,
You know.
Fight the Flat Earth does not impress me at all.
It's the way Cheshire and Steve say that everybody's a TSTer, and there's people that are TSTers that have never been on TSD. They don't even know who JD Kane is.
Have they accused me of that?
Probably.
No,
I don't know.
Probably.
I don't think they have, but I haven't watched their stuff in a while because mostly it's boring.
Yeah, it really is. But let's not do another 6-hour stream where we're talking about how boring they are. Because remember last time? I'm always back to just 6 hours.
I was like, wow, that was a long stream. We need to go shorter next time. All right, I'm going to play the rest of this and then, yeah.
I am confident that the funds Shawn received were used responsibly and for their intended purpose.
I want to point out something. Red's Rhetoric is aptly named Rhetoric because he has righteous rage.
Confidence.
And he always brings out confidence and righteous rage. And if you don't think so, you're fucking stupid. Are you fucking out of your mind?
He did this responsibly. Responsibly.
Right? Oh, I hit the button.
And when people started,
sorry about that. I got a little excited and hit a button.
Confident that the funds Shawn received were used responsibly and for their intended purpose.
so no, the landlord was never paid. And then when people started to accuse me of fraud,
It hurt.
I lied.
It hurt my feelings.
His honesty and transparency is the only reason some have a value to bitch about in the first place, because he never hid how much the fundraiser brought in. And if you're trying to run a scam, you tend to be a little more sneaky than that.
Well, he had
citation needed.
He never,
Right.
he never hid how much the fundraiser brought in. How do we know? Did we ever?
He's got a PayPal. Like, we don't really know.
Did we ever see? He just never hid it. He could have made up he could have just made up a complete bullshit. Yeah.
We just have to assume he's telling the truth, guys.
He could have made $2,000. That could have been it. Who knows? We just don't know because we never saw it. You dumb, non-skeptical minded person.
But don't worry, he's got righteous rage going on. This is the righteous rage he turns on about Kyle's stuff. This is the righteous rage he turns on about, like, being accused of being a bad roommate in the past. He just turns this on, this voice, and it's hilarious. Anyway, I'm going to hit play again.
Shitty bookkeeping does not invalidate
Shawn's
what I know
shitty
transpired.
bookkeeping.
So no, the landlord was never paid.
Now, when people started getting proof that this was a scam, now Shawn's accomplices started attacking anyone bringing these facts to light. For instance, here's Red's Rhetoric attacking another YouTube creator who started sounding the alarm about these scams.
Ever since I started getting accused
Pause
of
for a second.
it has basically been a never-ending game of whack-a-mole against the
Yep. What's up?
Red's Rhetoric wasn't the only one who took issue with the way Unirock handled it. But that doesn't mean Unirock was wrong, like he's trying to suggest.
Right. So, like, I take issue with, like, Unirock's, like, busy screens, but doesn't mean that he's not right sometimes. Like, it just seems like it's like a weird thing. Like, yes, sometimes Unirock gets things very wrong, and it irritates me so much, especially with the GDC history stuff. It's so dumb and wrong. Other times he's very right, and if anything, he's got a tenacity about him that the tenacity is helpful in situations like this.
intellectually lazy and the butthurt. I have proven that my fundraisers have achieved their goals, including the most recent one, multiple times over, and to still go over this washed up nonsense leads me to take a little bit of offense. For those of you who don't know,
Oh, he's offended.
decided to go on a drunken rageathon for about 8 hours, making claims that Shawn Huff is a scammer, that I am a scammer, and that multiple people are involved in said scam. Why? Well, it wasn't because he had any proof that a scam had actually happened.
Because multiple people are involved in the said scam.
The white was a mixed bag of not getting the red carpet treatment to dumb fuck of the year a few months ago, with a hint of what I suspect is an overinflated ego. If you want to know the details of what the fuck is actually going on by somebody who, unlike Team Skeptic, fucking research,
That voice.
I will leave
Righteous
a link to
rage.
my Hurricanes video down below.
So with any scam, You want the victims to blame themselves. And most times, they don't even want their money back after finding out they've been scammed. And that's what these people are hoping for. You found out about this scam, but next time, they'll be more careful. You won't. Now, when all the evidence became overwhelming that Shawn did not use the money for its intended purpose, Shawn Huff and Rhetoric came clean. 1 year later.
A year
there were
later.
More claims that are false about this story. There were so many, I wasn't even list them all on the slides. So this guy raised $22,000 lying to his friends, telling them that he had terminal cancer and spent the money on something else. This guy said that he was in a hit and run and needed $14,000 so his dog can get surgery. And this guy says he needed $7,450 to pay off 10 months of rent so he can avoid an eviction. And we know that was false. Everything about the story was false. So this is the so-called skeptic. These are the critical thinkers. They fight the flat earth.
They are very good at being skeptics, let me tell you. They're just incredible.
Yeah, geniuses.
Nonsense. Facts, with evidence, with reason. Now, I have provided you the facts, the evidence, and the reason.
Did Nate get a better camera? Nate, you're looking good on cam.
That you were
actually, I think it's better lighting.
Or victims.
Yeah, maybe better lighting.
Stolen. This is so bad that if you believe Shawn Huff and Rhetoric's story about what happened, well, hell, the earth may be flat because they believe their story. Hell, that may be true too. Now, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you made it to.
Okay, so shout out to Nate. I really enjoy that Nate made this a really concise visual picture for us to kind of check out and watch. So if you go to Nate the Lawyer's channel, you'll see this video here. And Unirock does deserve the credit of having a group of people and being tenacious about the subject. You can check out Unirock. I can't really point you to specific things because I find him really hard to dig through. But if you see Strawberry Harpy in chat, like she's really good about pointing out things and stuff, and so that makes it really helpful.
Yeah,
so
Strawberry, Torn Edge, Chimera,
Torn Edge,
Alicia, Menace to Sobriety. And the person who did all this research was that high guy. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So they did a really good job putting everything together. Yeah. And I have to say, appreciate the work you did. Every time people try to write off this as just a Unirock thing, like no, there's been so many people from different communities that have talked about it. It's just that Unirock has bothered to compile it and has bothered to have the tenacity, and for that's something that is helpful.
Yeah.
Really helpful. So that being said, I heard that Torn Edge is live. I apologize. It is so hard to not step on other people's streams. There's just too many streamers at this point. It's really hard to dodge them all.
It is.
But if you want to leave my stream, shout out to Torn Edge. Do you have a link to her channel, Exiled? We can pop a link to her channel. Let me see.
Okay, I can do that. I got her right here. She's right here. Copy.
Because you have a wrench, you can pop it into the actual live chat.
Paste.
And remember, it's impossible to not stream when Unirock is streaming, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's really, well, I don't even bother with Unirock, but there's other people like Torn Edge is going live, and I didn't want to necessarily step on her. I like to support those, creators that don't have 50K. Yeah, so if you click the link that Exile just put up, that's Torn Edge Designs, go ahead and hop out of my stream and give her a hello and some support, a like and a share. A shout out to everybody here. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate Nate taking the time to pop in, Fiona and Sinister Porpoise, and Exiled, of course, as always. It's always lovely to see you. I'm going to sign off. Y'all consider yourselves cautious going forward. Maybe consider being cautious with fundraisers. There's nothing wrong with asking for transparency. I think fundraisers are a great thing, awesome, but definitely ask for transparency going forward. Keep safe, and yeah, take care.
See ya.